I really like thinking back on this investigation. I think it's one that you could use to train other agents about international firearms trafficking. The Special Agent Berisha and his counterparts were able to do excellent investigative work, follow up on numerous leads, continue to expand the scope of this investigation, and eventually make some monumental seizures and knock down an organization, to the best of our knowledge, had been operating this way for at least 9 years.
I was a duty agent that night. It was Saturday evening, I believe, and I was ready to go out with some of my friends, and I got a duty call. And it was a strange call, involved a flood at a warehouse. So sometimes these calls in Miami, you never know what you're gonna get. As I walked into the warehouse, I noticed that there was 2 boxes that fell from the ceiling, cracked the toilet. Inside the boxes, if I may demonstrate, were what we call lower receivers. They were Bushmaster 223 lower rifle receivers. Upon inspecting the receivers, we saw that they were drilled. The serial number was drilled completely on both sides. And as we field tested the lower receivers, we saw that they appeared to be fully automatic. As we inspected further that warehouse, we found upper receiver. Same thing. We further inspected the warehouse, then we saw the wrinkle rifles, all wrapped in saran plastic in crates. I believe the total amount of firearms was over 50. These wrinkle rifles, obliterated serial numbers wrapped in plastic, and thousands of rounds of 7.62 by 3.9 ammunition. And these rounds of ammunition, these boxes, were placed into freezers. These freezers were all loaded with the ammunition boxes and closed. It appeared to be that they were going to be shipped out.
It was 250,000 rounds, all there piled up together. Ammunition, unlike firearms, you cannot trace. There is no paperwork to go with it except bills of sales. There's nothing that identifies ammunition the way serial numbers identify firearms. Also, ammunition is expendable, so as guns don't disappear, bullets get used up. So many times, individuals trafficking large quantities of ammunition, we never catch up with.
When I looked up, first, why is somebody putting boxes on the ceiling? It wasn't a ceiling per se. You had to remove the styrofoam. So if somebody's hiding boxes in an area, you figure there's something wrong. And this area is notorious for illegal smuggling. You do have legal businesses there that'll ship stuff back and forth to South America, but we've had cases in this area where they ship firearms.
The investigation quickly expanded when the individuals renting that warehouse turned out to have other warehouses under their control involved in international shipping. We then contacted our customs counterparts who had authority for what's called a warrantless search of the border, in that those warehouses were extensions of the United States border. Customs had easier entry authority than ATF did. So using our customs counterparts, we got into other warehouses. Then Ali started tracing the firearms that were involved.
Through the investigation, after the warehouse, we saw that it was assigned to Rafael Samper. He was a Colombian national. Most of the people in this organization were not citizens of the U.S. They were non-immigrant visas. They got their visas to come in to visit. And one confidential informant gave the name of Rodney Sharp, that he was the gringo in South Miami that helped the organization with the firearms and drilling the serial numbers and making fully automatic. Sharp was on our radar before in 2003. This case is 2004. In 2003, that he was being investigated for some of his guns being recovered in Colombia.
And it turned out his story that he had given ATF previously is that he was buying and selling at gun shows, which in and of itself was not illegal, but now we knew exactly how his guns had gone down. He was tied to this group.
So they brought another crew in from Venezuela, the bad guys did, and they bought the freezers, the ammunition. They loaded them up. Well, at this time, when they were doing that, we had our confidential informant with them the whole time. And we had the warehouse under surveillance. And then we got to see them load the ammunition into a 44 container, follow the tractor trailer all the way to the Miami seaport. That's where they left, and we were there, so The 40-foot container they thought was going to go on a boat to Venezuela. What we did was open the doors and just took everything out. We had 24-hour surveillance on the warehouse. There was agents at all times with the CI following the smugglers. And when we took them down in the warehouse. So they had no place to go. They were surrounded. So at the same time, we did multiple search warrants, had other arrest warrants. And you know how we do these takedowns. You got to do it at the same time. That way they don't call each other and notify each other. Unfortunately, the big drawback was that one of the main guys, Rodney Sharp, fled to China. If he's found, then he'll be arrested. We called it Lost Wolf because of the wolf ammunition that was highly sought after by these smugglers.
We worked hand in hand with U.S. Customs, which would now be referred to as ICE and Homeland Security Investigations. In Miami-Dade County, the county police department had their own small firearms task force or focus on firearms trafficking. We ended up talking to the State Department. We had to find out if there were any licenses involved with these individuals to legally ship firearms out of the country, which of course they were not. Close to 200 firearms or more, and then the initial seizure was 250,000 rounds of ammunition, and I believe the final seizure got up over or close to 750,000 rounds.
It's sought after by the cartels in South America, and they were selling those for $100 a box. For a box of 20 that you can get here, I believe, for $18. In Venezuela and Colombia, they were selling for $100. It's more money you can make than a drug dealer at that time.
It's one that I talk about a case a lot for people that are new to ATF, for our intel analysts, our industry operations people that might not have ever heard of it. It's just one of those things that it started in such a funny way. It makes for a good story, but it also tells people about how thorough an investigation was done.
Trafficking cases are always tough to do, but again, no one got hurt. We arrested everyone we needed to. Every single one of those defendants pled. And again, it led to these other cases that HSI is to this day still investigating. You could be the best agent and have the most evidence. Sometimes they will still fight, to go to trial. But we were all confident, myself, HSI, and everybody else, and the U.S. Attorney's Office, that, hey, we got them.
What ATF does best and what we know about always bleed over, those kind of crimes always bleed over into jurisdictions of other agencies. So the FBI, DEA, ICE, HSI, we're always working together with them and providing our expertise. And many times our expertise is into things that are bigger than just that violent crime on the street. We're looking into organized crime. We're looking into criminal groups and organizations, transnational groups. Firearms trafficking doesn't know any boundaries. So whether it's going to the inner city or to other states or to other countries, anti-government groups, ATF's involved there. It might be another agency that has primary jurisdiction outside of the country for that investigation, but when it comes down to how to get your hands on those firearms and how to get them out of the country, ATF is the lead investigator, and we bring our expertise so that the other agencies can depend on us to do these kinds of investigations.